It's the Sunday night Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, and we'll be talking about Hurricane Erin, the week ahead, and the long range, and who knows what other subject matters we'll come up with, but we'll figure it all out. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is brought to you by Amazon. We have a referral link pinned to the top of the chat board. And if you use that referral link to do your Amazon shopping, Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. And that's a good thing because it lets us keep the live podcast commercial free and making it seamless. So we thank those of you that have used the referral link on Amazon. And also Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. If you're looking for a weather station, this is a good one. I've got one. It's easy to install. And if I can install it, anybody can install it. You can use the link for this is on the description of this podcast on YouTube, just underneath the title of tonight's program, and use the coupon code summer 2025, because if you do, you'll get
10% off. Isn't that wonderful?
It is wonderful, Joe. To get a nice little discount. At least it covers the sales tax.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. So Erin did become a Cat 5, as you mentioned on one of the shows last week. I was being a little more guarded, but there you have it. Got down to 915 millibars, I think, and they were carrying 160 miles an hour. And then we have this eye-wall replacement cycle that started yesterday. It looks to me like that replacement cycle is about to come to an end, that we may get into another round of strengthening here. Starting to see a few things on the satellite loop, which we'll point out in just a second. The big deal, I think, for the East Coast really is coastal high surf, maybe some coastal flooding, because we also have a new moon coming up this week, and some beach erosion. And it might get a little bit on the breezy side, I think, along the coastal areas from southeastern New England down, particularly in the Outer Banks of North Carolina and points further south, because this is going to become a very large storm in terms of the geography that it's going to cover.
It's going to be one of the storms that will indeed have not a direct but an indirect effect on our area. And I can remember a few storms that never made landfall but came close to us and did bring quite a bit of rough seas and sea swells. I remember way back in the year that I was married, 1984, it was Hurricane Josephine. We actually, at that time, we were living on Long Island, Renata and I. We drove down to Jones Beach, and there were crowds of people just watching. Thankfully, nobody was stupid enough to try to go into the water, but just watching the way the waves were just rampaging. The seas were very, very rough. And there were other storms. I remember another one that was about 1,000 miles away, but still was significantly affecting our area because it was a very potent storm, Hurricane Gabrielle. So these storms, although they don't make a direct hit, can indeed cause problems in terms of possible coastal flooding. You mentioned the new moon coming up later this week, so astronomically higher than normal tides. That should set the stage again for possible coastal flooding, maybe a touch of beach erosion, and of course, the red flags will be up all over, especially so, if they're not already, because without Erin, today we had high risk of rip currents, but now we get to mid and late week. They're especially, to go out or try to go into the water, it'll be especially daunting. Don't try it. Don't do it. I know there's for people, Joe, who are surfers. They love, oh, wow, this is it. This is the way we've been waiting for something like that. Don't try it. It's not worth, I hate to be a lifeguard this week. You're sitting out there and the red flags are up and you figure everybody's going to stay on shore, there's always some dummy or a few dummies out there who are going to challenge the waves. And uh, you just have a bad feeling when you see something like that.
These are the next 2 weeks are two big vacation weeks for shore areas.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see whether I mean, a hurricane doesn't have to come that close, as you pointed out, to cause problems with the surf. And I really wouldn't be surprised if you start hearing about some beach closures, maybe late in the week, when the surf would be at its highest.
Yes, that would be good, just simply to close the beaches. Uh,
If not beach closings, at least certainly ban going into the water.
yeah, but then again, you would need extra. You know, I don't know. Would you have cops out there trying to prevent you from
I don't know
going
how
into
they do
the?
that. Yeah.
I don't know how they do it either. But yeah, but there's always somebody. There's always somebody out there who figures, well, this is great. I'm going to try.
We got some thunderstorms around this evening. SPC at the last minute went with a marginal risk for severe weather. Then they extended it further north up into New England, and there are a couple of stronger thunderstorms going on right now. And I imagine that you will be, if you would, show the radars when the time comes. But I figured we'd do Erin first, and then we could do the local stuff.
Fine.
Works for you?
Yep.
All right, welcome everybody to on the chat board tonight, and those of you lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're glad you're here. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. No schedule changes this week so far as I know. Might be a change on Thursday. I will let you know about that, where we might push the show back a little bit. But for now, no schedule changes for this week. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us. And turn your notifications on, because sometimes we'll add a show on a Friday or a Saturday, especially if there's a big storm around. So you want to make sure you have your notifications turned on so you don't miss us. And if you like the show, it always makes us feel good that if you hit the like button. So there you have it. So I'm going to start with a couple of loops here on Erin. This is the visible satellite loop. In spite of the fact that it's weakened in terms of the lowest pressure going up some 30 millibars, and also the and conversely top winds coming down, the hurricane still has a very, very intact core and structure to it. And on the last few frames, it's looking to me like it's starting to wrap around, like as if a new eye may be starting to form again as it continues. It's been kind of wobbling west northwestward. Sometimes on certain hours, you see a little jog to the north and then a little jog to the west. But the average movement is probably west northwest to northwest along those lines. It's beginning to approach 70 degrees west. And oh, by the way, I should mention, Joe, and everybody, because I'm hearing a lot of thunder now, so I have a thunderstorm going on. So hopefully I won't lose power, but if they suddenly disappear, that's the reason. But anyway, your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I have. I did not, and you could see on the satellite picture that there indeed looks to be an eye that is starting to take shape once again, and this just a temporary setback. Well, we saw it, Joe, on the various model runs from late last week, how intense this storm system presumably is going to get when it moves northward to off of the mid-Atlantic coast. So the fact that it did, and we knew that it wasn't going to, when it hit Cat 5, we knew it wasn't going to stay there. We knew that there was going to be some changes, perturbations that were going to knock it back down again, and it has. But if you think it's going to stay, down where it is now and not intensify anymore, you're sadly mistaken.
Tip jar hits right now. David Fuller and Brandon Doherty both hitting the tip jar. And we thank you very much for doing that. David says, no beach closures. I want to lay on the beach on Friday and Saturday are my beach days, hoping the waves are calmer for me to enjoy the 80-degree water on the Jersey Shore. And Brandon Doherty, um, he's starting a $2 challenge on the tip for the tip jar. So have at it, folks, if you'd like. I have the enhanced loop too. I put up both loops here. As I always, you could see the colors actually represent the colder cloud tops, and the core. See that big burst of that deep orange and red. So we're seeing cloud tops turning colder here near the center, which lends to the idea that we are probably beginning a new round of strengthening. And oftentimes they try to go back to their original pressure that they hit, which would be about 915. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. But this is still probably going to get back to a strong category before it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's as I said, it's going to vacillate in strength now over the next several days. But regardless of whether it goes back up to a 4 or 5 or drops, I mean, it's as I use this is the analogy I've used with other similar storms close to the mainland. It's like an egg beater. Really, that's basically what it's doing. It's just like whipping or agitating the waters to a tremendous degree, and the waves that are spreading out in all directions, ultimately will get to the eastern or the Atlantic seaboard, and therein lies the problem. If you're, going to go to the beach, yeah, that's a good idea. Just lay out on the sand, just lay, or just observe, watch those crashing waves, but do not, again, repeat, do not attempt to. I I was watching one of the evening newscasts tonight, Joe, and uh, when somebody made the comment, says, now if you get caught in an undertow, if you get caught in rough seas or whatever, and find yourself getting pulled out, don't panic. And I said, is that
Good
is that
luck.
I don't panic. Um, and it is true that if you do find yourself in that situation, you would swim parallel to the shore. You don't try to swim toward the shore. You're only going to run out of gas very quickly or whatever. But still, I mean, like, don't panic. Excuse me. If you're in that situation, how could you not panic?
Of course. Of course, and undertows can cause problems even for the best of swimmers. So if you think you're a good swimmer, that's all fine and dandy, but that you know, doesn't guarantee you that you're going to be able to handle a strong undertow from a tropical system. I'm checking the latest recon. I thought they would have this updated. There is a plane that is on the way there now. This is mission number 15 into Erin, so they're not quite there yet. They're getting close though. So we, the data that shows up on Tropical Tidbits sometimes is delayed. So the Hurricane Center may already have it, but we'll see. This was sent back at 8 minutes after 7 o'clock tonight, so they may very well already be there. Just want to say real quick, thank you, Paul Roman, for hitting Super Chat tonight, and Kenneth also hitting the tip jar. Thank you both for doing that. And a couple of things with regards to Erin as well. The 8 o'clock advisory should be out shortly. Just going to give this a refresh. It's not. Oh, it is here. 22.1 north, 68.8 west. And maximum sustained winds are 125 miles an hour. Joe, could you pull up the public advisory and see what the pressure is? That would really help me out.
Yeah.
And still carrying motion at west northwest at 13. They really this morning they jogged the track a little bit further to the west. They haven't really changed it very much today, showing this gradual turn to the north and then to the northeast. Now, on Thursday at 2 p.m., it's forecast to be at roughly 35 and 70, which is about 300 miles east of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. and maybe about 375 miles or 400 miles southeast of Long Island. The edge of the gales, because of the fact that this system is going to just get very large in terms of geography, the edge of the gales may get very close to the coastline. So I'm thinking that we're probably going to see. It may not be that windy, but it certainly will be breezy. I think come Thursday when the hurricane makes that turn.
The min pressure, and this is the 8 o'clock advisory, 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, is 946 millibars. Maximum sustained winds 125, and the location is 22-1 north, 68.8 west. And it's
Yeah.
moving west northwest at 13.
Okay. Um, Joe S. hitting super chat also. Thank you very much, Joe S. I think you're new to the chat board. Welcome. And he says, thanks for your not sensationalizing with your headlines, unlike some on Facebook and elsewhere. Just the facts usually lurk in the background. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to jump on the chat board and hitting the tip jar. Most appreciated. And yeah, that was. I'm just going to come back full screen here for just a second. That is, it's always a problem, particularly with the first one where you get all these, all these people putting up posts for clicks. And I saw somebody made a map where they took, there were 50 some odd members of the European ensemble, and out of those 50 some odd members, all but one had the tracks offshore, and which makes sense. But there was one track that took it right up the coast into Delaware, and they cut all the other tracks out, just showed that one, and made a deal about it. And it's so, and I don't know whether it's the fact that they do it, and then I'm reading the comments, and I mean there are people on there that follow it and take those things rather seriously. So you're being grossly irresponsible by doing that. It's just plain and simple. You're being grossly irresponsible, and if that's what you want to do, fine. But it sort of does reflect on your character if you're doing stuff like that.
There's always one in the crowd.
Yes.
What else can you say?
Well, in
What
this
else can you
case, there was more. It was far more than one.
Yeah.
There was quite a bit that did that. I don't know if did I thank William Uber for hitting super chat. If I've not, thanks, Bill, for hitting super chat. Too bad you had a bad fishing day today. No fluke, but you know how it happens sometimes. You go out and you don't get anything. But anyway, there's your forecast track. Expected to remain a major hurricane through Wednesday, then starts to weaken a little bit as it moves up further to the northeast and begins to accelerate, which is the normal thing that winds up happening. And with respect to some of the guidance, we can check the intensity guidance, where we do have a fair number of models bringing it back up to a Cat 3. And I'm sorry, it is a Cat 3. I'm sorry, bringing it back up to a Cat 4 and keeping it there for the next 72 hours or so. And then they all seem to take a gradual decrease in intensity after that.
Bring up the graphic, Joe.
Oh, thank you. Forgot to do that. I got a little distracted.
We heard you.
But there's your intensity guidance. And whenever all the models are like this, where they're sort of clustered in the same place, it does lend a high degree of confidence. The hurricane track model forecasts also very tightly clustered. You do have, the ones on the west side of the envelope here get to about 73 or 4, and the ones on the east side of the envelope get to about 72 or 3, and then they all sort of coalesce around 35 and 70, and then you see it just moves northeastward from there, well south and east of Nova Scotia, and to the south and east of Newfoundland. Although I think for Newfoundland, because by the time it gets up here, all the rain is going to be on the west side, and there'll probably be some wind. So perhaps the eastern part of Newfoundland may get into some tropical storm conditions out of this.
Well, it's not unusual, but I mean, look at the track. Look at the consensus. I mean, virtually every single model is taking it on the same basic track, the curve, making the curve or the turn at 35 and 70. That's actually, Joe, it's funny. 35 and 70. We often speak of 40-70 as the benchmark. So it's not the benchmark, but it's nearby, and then off it goes to the north and east. And it'll be interesting to see how long it holds together once it goes past Newfoundland, and whether or not it continues all the way up into the North Atlantic polar regions, which we sometimes see.
Oh, the chairman, Scott Briller, is banging the tip jar. Thank you, Scott. And we're going to do Briller Jeopardy in a little while, which is hurricane themed. Yeah, you are correct. The Joes always say that if we worry, then you should worry. But if we don't worry, then you should relax. So right now, relax. The tropical weather outlook, there's another wave that has moved off the African coast. I'm sure those of you who look at models, which is probably most of this audience, is seeing what some of the models are doing on some runs versus other runs. With this next particular system that is behind it, the Hurricane Center has now, in its longer range, beyond 48 hours, is indicating a tropical depression could form late this week or next weekend while the system moves west to west-northwest at 15 to 20. The medium chance of 40%. That's up from this morning when it was at 20. Then from 20 they went to 30. And then from 30, they went to 40. And there's still this little swirl, and I'll show it to you on the satellite loop. You look east of the North Carolina coast, there's a very weak low that's there. That's just sort of sitting there and spinning away. A little convection is developing on the east side, but this is not going to develop into anything. Obviously, Erin on the lower right is dominating the scene. So it's all about them, all about Erin. That system being out there is probably the reason why the ridge, the upper high that was driving Erin westward and west-northwestward, and even forcing it to go a little bit further south of west at times, that little system is the reason we've got this break in the ridge off the east coast, and Erin's going to is going to exploit that ridge and make the turn. Meanwhile, you'll notice also on the satellite loop, get ready, Joe Rayo, to do radars, that we do have some lightning strikes going on around New York City and western Long Island, in parts of central New Jersey and back into southeastern Pennsylvania, toward into Maryland and northern Virginia. And that is a weather front that is pushing southward. We have some scattered showers and storms. You can see scattered lightning strikes. If you look in North Georgia, there's a cell near me that's showing up there with some lightning strikes as well. But we don't have any widespread severe weather outbreaks. We don't have any severe thunderstorm watches that are up anywhere. As far as the last time I looked, we didn't. And I guess if you want, you can go ahead and get your radars up and let's see what's going on locally and in a few other spots.
All righty, we will do that. And yeah, we heard some thunder here in the wonderful Putnam Valley area along about an hour or so ago, and we will show you the radar from Upton, and you can see that this is probably what we were hearing. This one cell that was moving to our north, but there were other cells. In fact, parts of the New York metropolitan area were underneath some sort of a thunderstorm warning a little while ago, and those thunderstorms, in fact, a cluster of storms associated with also a line that stretched out, kind of merged with a line that stretched out down the Jersey shoreline, and some of these storms accompanied by strong gusty winds and vivid and dangerous displays of lightning. And again, here's that one cell that passed by to my north. Basically, it was across Interstate 84. I mean, you're going to go even further to the north, just to the south of Albany. There's one particular thunderstorm cell that crossed over into western Massachusetts and faded out as it passed over the Berkshires. So they're out there. This is, again, a weather front that is going to change things quite a bit. Today I had a temperature of 88 for a high temperature, Joe, but the heat index made it feel more like it was in the low and mid 90s. What a change, what a difference is heading our way over the next 24 hours. Let's go down to the radar in Washington, D.C., and you can see that the nation's capital in its own right on the tail end of a band of showers and embedded thunderstorms, and this band crossing through northern sections of Virginia, central sections of Maryland, and also southern and southeastern Pennsylvania, moving along at a pretty good clip. And again, if you happen to be in the area or the path of this line of showers and storms, you're probably experiencing some brief heavy downpours and strong gusty winds, again associated with that weather front coming down from the north. I might point out that in the tri-state area, winds right now are out of a southwesterly direction, but they're going to turn into the north and bring in a much cooler and also less humid airflow later tonight, and especially so during the day tomorrow. We go further south and west. Let's go to the radar from Knoxville, Tennessee. And you can see that by the time you get to this area, this zone, the showers are becoming fewer and more widely scattered. But you can see that a couple of localized heavy downpours over in western sections of North Carolina, the North Carolina mountains actually, and another area right here over in central Tennessee, and also in adjacent southern Kentucky. So the storms are out there. They're occurring now. They probably will fade out some as we move into the evening hours. How many of you have noticed with the shortening of the days now, in many places the sun is now going down before 8 o'clock, and we'll continue to lose a couple of minutes per day off of the length of daylight right on through the equinox next month. So the evenings are getting darker, the mornings are getting darker too, and the season moving along. We're now in the mid to latter part of the astronomical summer season.
Here's the wide radar view, and there are also some scattered showers and storms this evening in parts of the lower and middle Mississippi Valley, also in West Texas and New Mexico and up into Oklahoma. Some strong cells in northern Iowa and into Minnesota, although we don't see any yellow boxes, so we don't see any severe thunderstorm warnings there. One has popped up in north central, and another one has popped up in northeast Nebraska. And we've got some scattered showers and a couple of thunderstorms rumbling around in Wyoming and up into central Montana, where we have a severe thunderstorm warning that has popped up. The Storm Prediction Center, which for some reason their website always gateway times out for me on me. I don't know why, but then I just get it right back. There's a slight risk in northwest Iowa and southeastern Minnesota, but as I said, there are no severe thunderstorm watches up at the moment, and a 2% tornado risk. In fact, let me just go back to the main page just to make sure that there are no severe thunderstorm watches up. And they just issued a mesoscale discussion that they may be putting one up in northern Iowa and southern Minnesota. So there you go. Now, for tomorrow, it's a marginal risk being indicated over areas of South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. Nothing from Maine to much of Virginia and back into the Ohio Valley, and then kind of nosing down into the Tennessee Valley. So thunderstorm activity is going to be calming down, or actually it has calmed down for the most part in the last week and a half or so. Just general thunderstorm activity being indicated across parts of the Gulf states and down into Florida, although nothing is being indicated in the southern half of Georgia and in the southwest corner of South Carolina. No severe weather is forecast at the moment for day 3, which is Tuesday into Wednesday. Just general storms scattered around across the south, back through the southern plains, parts of the southwest, parts of the Ohio Valley, into the Great Lakes, western New York, northwestern PA. But from Maine to Virginia, it is going to be very, very quiet. And with respect to rainfall, as we check out what WPC is doing this week, it ain't going to be much. I wonder how much of this is front-end loaded, because this starts at 8 o'clock tonight, so maybe a lot of what you see in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states is what's going on right now. and much of that's going to disappear. So it's probably going to be a tenth of an inch or less in many locations, a little bit higher with the activity going on in the southeast and in the Gulf states, anywhere from a half inch to some areas of an inch and a half or more, particularly in western North Carolina and North Georgia, and also in the inland areas of Florida. On the far right, you see that heavy band area of precip out in the Atlantic just pretty much follows the track of Hurricane Erin. And we have some heavier precip being indicated for the next 7 days across the western lakes into Minnesota, with areas of 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. And the monsoonal showers and thunderstorms that occur in the southwest and in the central and southern Rockies, some areas of a half inch to an inch, most areas a lot less than that. So, one change, by the way, I was kind of leaning to the idea that the weather was going to be more gloomy doomy this week with the way the high and the wind coming in off the ocean. But if Erin is going to take that right turn and go basically northeast like this, um, that's probably going to allow for more dry air to move southward than otherwise would have. So I'm going to have to redo my forecast for tomorrow because and Tuesday and Wednesday because I was going for more clouds than anything else. But I'm going to lean on the idea that you're going to get the lower dew points and some dry air coming down from that high that is in southeastern Canada and in northern New England. I'm going a little more optimistic from the standpoint of some sunshine.
Well, I was thinking that, first of all, Renata and I and other members of the family are going to be going to the Dutchess County Fair, our annual visit there later this week, and we were trying to choose what day would be best. I figured it would be Thursday, based in part by the positioning of where Erin was going to be and how we would be getting a nice flow of northeasterly or northerly winds and lower humidity. But it looks like the humidity is going to stay down low starting tomorrow and through much of next week, Joe. And as far as cloud cover, I think we're going to start off tomorrow with clouds and then see a gradual trend toward clearing and developing sunshine by later tomorrow. Tuesday looks good. Wednesday, I still have mentioned the possibility of a shower. I had better confidence on that Friday and Saturday, but now it looks like the models don't want to give us anything. But I'll still mention the possibility that we might see a shower on Wednesday and then drying out for Thursday and Friday. And if we start turning warmer and more humid, it probably will not be until probably next weekend. But till then, looks like we've got a fairly nice week, except if you happen to be right at the immediate shoreline with the rip current and heavy seas that are expected thanks to Erin.
Right, and here's the European, by the way, the European model. uh, I see where you're getting these showers for Wednesday because there's a disturbance moving across Minnesota and the lakes that then moves southeastward with the higher pressures to the northeast, and it is showing some shower and storm activity well up into upstate New York on Wednesday. Most of it is inland, but we still have these easterly isobars here, so that's probably going to keep things a little more stable down near the coastline. The gradient gets a little tight there along the coast of North Carolina come Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Even a little bit of rain grazes the Outer Banks, but the body of the hurricane goes to the northeast. Now, if it's a little bit too far, if the model is a little bit too far to the right and it winds up being a shade more to the left, you might get maybe a brief period of a steadier rain and maybe some stronger winds in the Outer Banks, and also probably in Nantucket might see some gusty winds out of this. But again, the bulk of it is going out to the east. So we just, as you said, the dew points are going to be pretty low for much of this week, and that's a telltale sign, by the way, of a hurricane that would be coming up the east coast. This weather front that's moving through now would be backing up as a warm front and putting us back into tropical air and 70 plus dew points. Clearly, that is not happening. So the surface, if you had nothing to look at, but if you were just looking at the surface of what's going on, you would note the fact that we're going to have dry dew points through the middle and latter part of the week. which means that tropical systems, when they come up in tropical environments. And if that were to be the case, this weather front would be backing northward, and obviously it's not doing that. So longer range, there's another front here on Sunday, and the European and the GFS, they're all picking up on that next wave, and you can see the European has it making a turn at 70. The GFS on this last run brings it along the Florida East Coast to South Carolina and takes it up. Of course, on the next run, it'll be in New Orleans like it was on the day run. You get the idea. Then there's another high that's coming down with some dry air for the first part of next week, which is kind of nice. So we're getting these dry air masses now, which is good. Maybe we'll have a September where we don't get, well, the last couple of years, we've gotten these warm spells in September, but they haven't been as unending. If you go back a little bit further, we had these stretches where we were going September into October, where we were basically in a ridge position in the eastern part of the United States. That may not be the case this time. The last couple of years, it's been less the case. This year, it may wind up being even less if we keep getting these troughs that are dropping into the eastern U.S., particularly into eastern Canada, and funneling down drier air out of Canada. So that'll be a plus if we can limit the amount of very warm and very humid days.
And I want to say thank you to Maggie P. for hitting the tip jar. Happy belated birthday to Joe Rayo. Well, thank you very much for that. And it's Maggie's birthday tomorrow. And she said,
Happy birthday to Maggie.
She said, I don't take it for granted. And also rest in peace to our dear friend Vincent Croce.
Yes.
Who, in case some of you have not been with us for a short while, Vincent passed away a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to Donald Kogan for hitting the tip jar as well.
Yes, thank you, Donald. All right, let's do a little bit of Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Surely, I guess you have the
I
names
do, and we've been doing retired hurricanes. That has been the theme that Scott has us on these days. So we are up to the letter F. Excuse me. We are up to the letter F, Joe. There are 10 storms that are retired that begin with the letter F. So, chat board, I hope you're ready to go. Let's see what the first ones are putting up. Johnny Sachs says Fran. Fran is on the list. Yes. And Anthony, go ahead. I'm sorry.
May I add one, or
you may?
Is Frederick on the list?
Of course, Frederick is on the list
from 1979.
Yes, and we can add Francis from Rich Rothmansky, Floyd from Anthony. Kenny Salerno also said Frederick. Harold Olson throws in Fiona. Carol DeCara says Francis, which is different from Fran, but all of these are on the list. Lou Arizio has Fabian, and Fabian is there. Yes, on the list.
I have two cousins named Fabian.
No kidding.
Two cousins. I had two great uncles, Uncle Larry and Uncle Ed, and they had sons, and both of them decided they wanted to name their sons Fabian. So I have two Fabians.
Nice. Chuck Cardillo also adding Fabian in there. Miss Fowler, Fiona, Floyd, Fran, all there on the list. The sellout 19, Florence. Yes, Florence is on the list.
Yep. How about the cat?
Felix is on the list. Yes. So we've got Fabian, Felix, Fiona. Okay. I don't think anyone's mentioned that one. Florence, Floyd, Fran, Francis, and Frederick. So there are two left.
I should point out Floyd was also the benchmark for many, many years in the Hudson Valley. That was a tropical system that came up literally from south to north across the tri-state area and brought devastating floods. It shut down the various parkways. Any parkway in the Hudson Valley, of course, with associated with a body of water like the Sprain Brook, Bronx River, Sawmill, all of these places, and there was one. I think it was Dr. Jerry Thaler up in Yorktown Heights had over 12 inches of rain that fell from Floyd in a span of just 3 hours. Floyd actually, Joe, if you remember the synoptic situation, there was a kind of a stationary front that was across the tri-state area,
Yeah.
and here comes Floyd with all of that tropical moisture, and it merged with the stationary front, and then the moisture from Floyd literally like hit the front and flowed right up along that frontal line, and that's what caused all the devastation. And so, while it was not let's say a Category 4 hurricane, Floyd did cause a lot of problems in the biggest metropolitan area in the United States, and so I guess for that reason they decided that they would retire Floyd's name.
88 likes so far. Thank you, those of you who hit the like button. If you could take us over 100, because we haven't done that for quite a while, that would be most enchanting. So thank you so much. The last two, the two that were not named, are now named. William Uber with Fifi, and that is a retired name, and Kenny Salerno and a few others. Flora, Joe. Fifi in Florida. So the 10 storms, just to repeat, for the letter F that were retired. Fabian, Felix, Fifi, Fiona, Flora, Florence, Floyd, Fran, Francis, Frederick. Or Froderick.
Frederick.
Froderick Frankenstein.
Do you remember the episode of the Flintstones where Fred got bonked on the head and he
Yes.
said, "My name is not Fred, I'm Frederick."
Frederick. Yes, exactly. So we got them all, and that means that tomorrow night we will go to the letter G, and thanks to Scott Briller for doing that. And we got to 100. Yippee! It's been a long time
right.
since we've done that.
All right.
All right.
Very good.
So for the tip jar hitters tonight, David Fuller, Brandon Doherty, Kenneth, Paul Roman, Joe S., William Uber, the chairman Scott Briller, Maggie P., happy birthday, and Donald Colgan. Thank you so much for hitting the tip jar. And we're going to be back tomorrow night. I got through this. The thunder kind of stopped, so maybe the cell is to my east and not bothering me, so that's good. So we'll be back at the same time tomorrow night, 7:35, with all the latest from Erin, all the latest on Erin, and everything else that's going to be going on in the weather for this coming week. So you got anything to add before we say goodnight?
No, I think we will be back tomorrow at 7:35, and we all hope that you had a great weekend, and we'll be back to kick off a new week tomorrow night.
All right. Night all. See you tomorrow.
Good night.